Where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. God has given us unlimited treasures in His Word. Every time we open it, we can discover a new treasure or admire an old one. What will we find today? Here's Carla Early with Treasure Hunt in the Word.
Back in seminary, they had a class about helping people handle their grief. I didn't take it, but I've always wished I had. We can always turn to the Bible when dealing with any circumstance, and this is true of grief as well. Just think about Job. He lost his entire family except for his wife, who wasn't handling her grief very well. All of his riches and his health were gone. All he had left was his friends, who accused him of sin instead of consoling him. Now, we definitely want to do better than that when we minister to someone who's grieving. The first thing we can do when grief hits us is to express it instead of bottling it up or denying it. Job certainly did this. We can practically feel Job's grief as he cursed the day of his birth and wished himself dead. Over and over, he expressed his sorrow, laying it before the Lord. Yet he said, "Though he slay me, yet I will trust him." He clung to what he knew about God, even though he didn't have the Bible like we do to bring him encouragement. When David mourned, he laid his broken heart before God, no matter what it was about. About a third of the Psalms start out as some sort of lament. I think it helped David to write down his feelings, because many of these Psalms ended in praise, like David suddenly remembered that his Lord had a purpose for his pain. God was in control, and he would use David's broken heart and work everything out for good, probably in a way he didn't expect. Just like he did for Martha and Mary in John 11. When they sent word to Jesus to come heal their brother, his good friend, he didn't come. Imagine the confusion and disappointment they felt after Jesus had promised, "This sickness is not unto death." When Mary and Martha encountered Jesus next, both of them had the same reaction. They said, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died." Then Jesus showed them what he meant by the rest of his promise to his beloved friends. He had said, "This sickness is not unto death, but for the glory of God, that the Son of God may be glorified through it." He certainly was glorified as he raised Lazarus from the dead. Don't you think Mary and Martha, and even Lazarus, believed afterward that their pain and suffering had been worth it? Of course, in the middle of their grief, they couldn't understand that. Not long ago, I attended a funeral of a small boy who had died in a tragic accident. Though his parents were obviously in the middle of intense grief, they understood this concept. His father, who spoke at the funeral, explained that he knew God would use the death of his son for his glory. He said not only had their little boy touched many people, but even if just one person at the funeral gave their life to the Lord, his life and death would be worth it. That's a hard thing to say in the middle of grief, but that belief got them through it. Somehow they managed to take their eyes off their circumstances and all the whys and what-ifs that had to be running through their heads, and they looked up. They stopped looking horizontally and looked vertically. Just like Jeremiah did in the middle of his book dedicated to lamenting, he said, "This I recall to mind." It was something he already knew, but he needed to be reminded of it. He said, "His compassions fail not. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. The Lord is my portion, and therefore I hope in him." God uses grief for us to learn to lean on him, trust his wisdom, use his strength as we face our own finiteness and helplessness. He shows us who he is, his love, grace, mercy, and care. Because we experience grief, we can learn to care about others and how to point them to him. We learn how to come to him, cast our cares on him, and trust him completely. I'd love to hear from you about how God has taught you and matured you as you look to him during times of grief, or how he's used you to help others through grief because of the grief that you've experienced.
You can contact us at treasurehuntintheword@gmail.com. We'd love to hear the treasures God has given you through his word. You can listen to other episodes at our website, which you can find in the description below. Thanks for listening, and remember, where your treasure is, there will your heart be also.